The Everest is a $20 million race, as we know. It is the richest race on turf, in fact, and now it has Group 1 status to go with it.
Yeah, racing editor of the Daily Telegraph, Ray Thomas. Sartorially elegant as always. Ray, the announcement came through the week, the All-Star Mile and the Everest getting Group 1 status.
Yeah, good morning, Tim. Good morning, Jules. I think it was long overdue, wasn't it, guys? I think when you look at the Everest and the impact that it's had not just on Australian racing but indeed world racing, it's been virtually immediate since it was introduced in 2017. Deservedly Group 1 from next Saturday onwards. And, well, to be fair, guys, there's no better sprint race in the world. It rates among the highest races every year in terms of sprint races. And, as I said, it was long overdue to get that Group 1 status.
You've spoken to trainers, slot holders, etc. throughout the week. What's been the reaction from everyone?
I think universally an acknowledgement finally of the race, and all and sundry are happy it's got Group 1 status. I think when my colleague Ben Dorry sort of hinted a few weeks ago on RaceNet that this was going to happen, there was some scepticism, guys, because we've been talking about the Everest getting Group 1 status for years, since it was virtually introduced in 2017. But there seems to be a new era of cooperation in Australian racing now, and I think everyone, all the participants, sort of treated it, as Timmy said in the opener, they treated the Everest as a Group 1 anyway, and now it's got the official rubber stamp. Game on, and looking forward to next Saturday.
And Racing Australia, there's a review going on with looking into Australian black type guidelines?
There is, Timmy, and what comes, that'll be interesting, because I think they've got an agreement around the nation now to how to acknowledge and accept and upgrade races going forward. So the hint is there'll be more Group 1s announced sooner rather than later, as well as a number of more Group 2, Group 3 and listed races elevated as well. So, look, I think Australian racing's in a very healthy state at the moment. Our racing is particularly strong. Look at the fields today at Rosehill and Caulfield. Punters are sport for choice. It's a great day's racing. And look, I know there's probably that argument that some of the fields are split, but that's competition in the modern era. And we see the autumn carnivals clash. We see the spring carnivals clash. And as I said, I think punters get the best of both worlds, Tim and Jules.
What does this elevation also mean for the world pool when it comes to the coverage of the races here?
Yeah, really good point, Jules, because what it does mean now is races like the Everest, which are legitimately Group 1 contests, if they're amongst the top 100 Group 1 races in the world, and the Everest rates since it started in the top 20, sometimes in the top 10, top 5 even, so it will automatically go into the world pool next year. Now, that's great news for the racing industry, because obviously in the world pool, punters can bet into massive pools on particular races like the Everest. The New South Wales racing industry will get a fair amount of revenues from that, and there's a certain sort of there's a certainty when it comes to prices, Jules, and the dividends that come out of the world pool. So, all in all, it's really good news for the Australian racing industry, because not only does the Everest get Group 1 recognition at last, it becomes a new revenue base for the sport too.
I know you have Sky News on there in the media box, of course, at Rosehill, so you have the opportunity to see it. Yeah. We have Johnny Tapp coming on the program today, and of course the Tapp Craig. Look, I can say it 1,000 times how big a legend this bloke is. Been interviewing him or working with him for 30 odd years, and we walked down memory lane with a few of his great calls. He is just one of the outstanding figures of horse racing, isn't he?
You summed it up beautifully, Timmy, and you could talk to both John and Ian, for that matter, for hours and still want the interview to go longer, because both men, what they have experienced in racing and what their knowledge and their passion for the sport, it comes through. So I'm really looking forward to that interview. One of the genuine nice guys of New South Wales and Australian racing, and, well, Timmy, he's an absolute legend, isn't he?
Absolutely.
Ray, I just wanted to ask you about this year's Everest field, because I know you've been obviously working and writing on this very closely. We still, the full field isn't quite official yet. We're still waiting on Coolmore to make their decision. Switzerland in the Roman Consul Stakes today. Is it likely that we'll see Switzerland take that Coolmore slot, or are you thinking Stormboy still?
Yeah, difficult to answer that question, Jules, but if We'll know in less than 70 seconds once the Roman Consul is run. And if Switzerland wins by 4 or 5 lengths, looks like Farlap wins easily and pulls up without turning a hair, suddenly he's very much in the mix for Coolmore's slot. Next week, there's a little bit of rain forecast. So talking to Tom Magnier late in the week, a couple of days ago, he's just a little bit worried about the potential of rain for Storm Boy. So that's why he's, I guess, looking at what Switzerland can do in the Roman Consul. Switzerland comes into this race under a bit of a cloud. He was disappointing first up in the Run to the Rose, but he has trialled really well since. We know he's a gifted colt, so it'll be really interesting to see what he does this afternoon, and that will have obviously a huge bearing on what call that Tom Magnier and the other people in Coolmore make in relation to their slot. Look, Storm Boy's still the horse that they have potentially in the race, and Brenton Abdallah, the jockey who's based in Hong Kong, is on standby to come back for the ride. So at this stage, probably a long neck in front, Storm Boy, but we'll know a lot more after the Roman Consul, Jules.
Raymond, always great to chat. Have a great day.
Thanks so much, Timmy and Jules.